Hey there, Gina here with Here Comes the Bride Pro. And in this video, I am going to share with you some strategies for building a website that sells, building that bridal beauty website that's going to really speak to your ideal client. So I thought it was important that we start with your ideal client because really everything about your website should be focused around that perfect ideal client. So I'd like for you to think about all the things about them that makes them unique, but starting out with what three adjectives best describe them. So I'm going to give you a few examples here. Maybe you've got a client that is very clean, minimal, affluent. Next client is effortless, beachy, glamour, bold, sexy, and alternative, dramatic, glamorous, princess, or trendy, boho, and edgy. So you can see here so many different types of people, so many different types of clients. So your website should really be focused all around that client and your brand and what you represent. So taking it one step further, what three things are most important to them? So maybe products, the experience, status, ease, social media, popularity, taking risks, self-expression, uniqueness, convenience, efficiency, and service, trends, inclusion, and maybe eco-friendly. So again, everything about your website and your hooks and your taglines and your copy and your images and everything should be used to create your message. So everything about your website should be focused on that information. Your logo, your colors, your font, your typography, your hooks, your taglines, and your website copy. And I'm going to go into all of these things with you. But again, going back to that ideal client, everything you do, you should ask yourself, depending on who your client is, do these images represent this? Do these hooks and taglines resonate with what this person cares about? So that is why I just wanted to quickly go over this before we get into the details of a website. Again, because this is going to be such an important element of creating that effective website. So a little bit of a tough love, truth bomb here. First impressions matter a lot. Your brand and website really need to be on point. Every industry right now is just so oversaturated, so competitive, so you really just can't get away with having a crappy website. So let's start out by talking a little bit about your logo and your colors. So this is going to, of course, play into the whole look of your website, the whole look of your brand. In my opinion, simple is best, especially when it comes to designing a website. You don't want a crazy busy logo. Again, that's just my opinion. But even your logo should tell a story. So I've got a few examples here just to kind of show you. They're all very simple, but they all tell a little bit of a story about what that business is all about. Even the last few that I gave you, they're very funky and boho and retro looking, but still very, very simple. So when I look at each of these logos, I feel like just from the logo, I get a pretty good sense of maybe what this company is all about. So keep that in mind. Again, all of this stuff plays together to create that cohesive website, that cohesive brand that's going to really resonate with your ideal client. So let's talk really quick about images. So in a creative field, obviously your images on your website are going to be so important. It's very important to have quality plus consistency. So I'm going to give you a few examples here of some images that are very consistent and are very high quality. So you can see here that a lot about these images are all very similar, and they all really flow, and they're going to work to flow with the fonts and the colors, everything on your website. So again, images so important. There's really only so many ingredients that you have to create a great website, so images are really at the top of the list. So let's kind of talk about some of the other elements, and I'm going to in a few minutes be showing you live on some websites. But first of all is typography. So typography is not only the font you use, but it's how you lay out the font on your website. A big mistake that a lot of do-it-yourselfers, people trying to do their own website, is they put all of the font, the text, right down the middle of the website. So I'm going to give you some really great examples of how you can really use typography to create a really effective and beautiful website. Your hooks and taglines. So again, you only have so many ingredients to tell that story. If you think about it, when I get down to, showing you the rest of these elements, those are the ingredients that you have to instantly tell the story through your website about who you are and what you're all about. Of course, your website copy, and I'm going to kind of go into that a little bit because people don't always read all of the copy, but it is still very important. Your calls to action. So those are your, book a consultation, request more information, and then your user experience. Super important. And again, I'll go into all of this in a few minutes. So just like form follows function, design follows content. This is really important. So you need to think about what is the most important information. So it's in web design, it's called your hierarchy. You want to make sure that your most important information goes on top. So you want to think about your website pages, your home page, your service pages. What's really important? What's the message that I want to give? What are the most important things to point out about my business, about my services? What are those things that are going to be most likely to instill trust in my clients? People are 100% skimmers. They're going to skim a website. They're not necessarily looking through all of your copy. They're really, first of all, that first impression, everything that's what they call above the fold, the first thing they see is, again, instantly should give them idea about what you are all about, and then they're going to kind of skim. So it's important to have that good user experience to really have things laid out with bullet points and bold, those things that are really important that your potential clients see. You want to make sure that those things are highlighted. So I want to go ahead and go through and take you through some websites. These are all websites that we have designed and kind of show you. The first thing that I want to show you is how each of these websites, when you come to them, you really get a pretty good sense of what they are all about, this company. Of course, they're all very professional, so you can see here, very different. The colors, the fonts, tells a very specific story about who this business is. This one's kind of more boho. Everything's very consistent. All the colors, all the styles of images are really telling that story about what that company's all about. Let me show you a few more. Here's one that again is telling a very specific story about who this company is and what they're all about. So important to get really clear on who you are, what your brand is all about, who your ideal client is. Here's another really dramatic. The colors are super dramatic. The makeup and hair is very dramatic. This one's kind of more clean and soft and romantic. Got one that's a little more funky. And then another one that's kind of more boho and funky. So you can see here, these are not your basic generic websites that all look the same. All of these websites are really, again, I keep saying it, but they're really telling a story immediately because that's really all you have is that very first impression. You want to keep them looking on your website. This is one we just did for kind of a more high-end editorial look to it. So again, so important that you get their attention right away. What the job of your website is to keep them looking for more. So I want to kind of point out a few things, like on this one, for instance, you've got some fun, different animation here that makes for a little bit of a more fun user experience. Let me find the one. This one, this is another great way to illustrate kind of a user experience. All your pages. So let's talk about that really quick. Obviously, you want to have your home page, and really, as far as hierarchy and putting those things that are really important on that home page, that's the page that you want to do it. This is like your billboard of your company and what you're all about. But the other pages, obviously your service page on here. And again, you can see everything's very consistent. All the colors are kind of around that same color scheme. And you want to have reviews if you got reviews about a gallery, contact, blog. This one's got a shop. So let's go ahead and look at, actually, let's go to hers and look at her gallery here. So another thing as far as images is really making sure that all of your images are very professional. You don't want to have a mishmash of professional and amateur photos that you took on your phone. So let's go here. This is kind of cool user experience. This just kind of makes for a more updated, upscale website when you've got stuff like that. Um, this is kind of an example of typography where you're using different fonts here. And she's got some really great website copy and some hooks and taglines. Let's look at a couple more. Again, the use of typography here, where not everything's going down the middle. It's really kind of different angles. You've got a little use of some animated font here. So that's going to really be the sign of a professional website. Even if you end up doing it yourself, keep these things in mind that you want to, use. Don't put everything straight down the middle of the website. Let me think of seems if I can find some more things. This is a really great, excuse me, use of typography with not only different size font, different fonts in general, kind of off to the side here, different colors. So that's a really great use of typography. Of course, it's great to have your Instagram feed on there. So I just wanted to kind of show you again how all of these elements really do work together. Video is a really great way to engage with your potential clients. This is another really cool thing to have. Let me show you on here. So of course we have a gallery page that just shows all of your work. But then if you go to featured galleries, this is another great idea. And here's the thing too, it's, the goal of your website is to have people want to learn more about your business, obviously stay on your website longer. The longer someone's on your website, the more likely they are to reach out and to want to book with you. So you want to engage them, and then, of course, you want to inspire them to reach out for information. So this is a really great way to, again, that user experience to keep them on your site longer. So we've got your gallery, but then you've also got these individual pages that have specific jobs that you've done. So I hope that this has inspired you and given you some really great ideas on how to create a really effective website that most importantly connects you to your ideal client. And then I actually have another video where I'm going to be going over with you the options for creating your own website or hiring a designer. And another tough love truth bomb here. These are a couple of my sayings that help to remember in business, super, super important in business in general. If you confuse them, you lose them. So that's where that quality, that more consistency is really, really important in your brand and in your website. If you've got someone coming to your website, to your social media, and they're looking at your brand and what you stand for, and everything's pretty consistent, but then they come to a few images or a few things that are like, that doesn't quite add up with what I've seen, that's going to confuse them and you're going to lose them. And then as far as your website goes, my little saying that I like to say is if they're peeved, they'll leave. So user experience is so important. If you've got those broken links, if the way your website is laid out doesn't make sense, it's going to be very, very irritating to your clients and they're just going to leave. They have so many choices that they're not going to take the time, um, to deal with messy and sloppy and website and a website that has broken links or that's really irritating. So I hope these strategies have helped, and I wish you the best of luck in designing your website that appeals to that ideal client.